welcome to Lloyd's List on the Radar on Friday the 17th of April, bringing you a roundup of the top stories in the shipping industry this week. Piracy in Somalia is dominating the news this week.
I'm with Liz McCarthy and Adam Charlton. Liz and Adam look after the On the Radar video bulletin. Liz, I wonder if you could tell me how the video starts. Where do you begin with the bulletin?
We begin by looking at the top 10 or the top 20 most read stories, and then from that we take the stories and edit them down into smaller chunks and put them together into a script that includes sort of generally 3 larger stories, a wrap-up of the dry bulk industry, the tanker industry, and then some shorter, brief news stories that go at the end. So that's generally the format.
And when you're writing the script, are you conscious of any difference in the way you write it, as if for speaking, than you would just for print or for the web?
Sure, there's some words that some of the journalists use in their stories that you wouldn't want to pronounce on camera because it'll mess you up. But generally, we try to keep in the present tense, but that isn't always possible, particularly with talking about rates and things that have happened. Apart from that, it's just a case of reading it aloud as you go along and reading it aloud one last time before you film to make sure that it does work. The biggest issue is breathing, I think, and I have spent a lot of time getting better with my breathing, but you still can't perfect it. It's very hard whilst reading aloud to breathe at the right time to make the sentence come across as it should do. So it's been a learning curve, but it does involve reading through the script aloud, either in your head or out loud at the computer screen.
So the presentation skills, is that something you've had to kind of pick up or learn from experience, or have you had fantastic training to get you?
It's all been learnt on the job. Control movement whilst on camera. We've experimented a lot with the auto cue, and we use paper instead of anything high tech, and experimented at looking below the screen, above the screen. We've tracked where my eye movements go, how my head moves on camera. So we've just sort of fine-tuned that, and Adam tells me if I'm doing anything too crazy as well, if I'm flicking my hair about. So
what about things like reading speed? I don't know, Adam, did you have any sort of, because I think you edit the bulletins, don't you?
Yeah, I do, but usually we did a very short one today, but most of the time they're all quite a standard size of script, so we can just get it out, and it's usually about 4.5 to 5 minutes. But if it tends to be a little longer, I think Liz is very good at just knowing when it is and kind of can speed up the speech when it needs to be done. But
are you conscious of that? Have you ever sort of counted the number of words you get in a minute, or do you not worry too much?
No, sometimes, well, most of the time now I'm okay at my speed, particularly when I first started out. I'd either be too slow or too quick. And there are, as Adam said, sometimes the bulletins are really long, and I think in my subconscious I'm aware of the fact that it's very long, and I know that it's much easier for the guys editing if it's shorter. So I think I do naturally speed up when it's a very long bulletin. But Mark, the head of digital content, he sort of tells me if I'm speeding up too much to the point where you can't understand me. I'm naturally a fast talker. Nobody's complained so far,
no,
it's okay. Again, it's just one of those things you have to learn. I guess if you work on a TV station and you do news reading off an auto cue, the proper system, the speed is controlled by you reading, but also by the auto cue. It scrolls up at the speed that it needs to be read out at. So I suppose there's that issue when you've got a very low budget system.
You film against a green screen, and we've just been watching you do that. What's the next stage now? Do you take over now, Adam? Is it?
Yeah, I do. I put it onto the computer as quickly as possible, and then we just try and kind of do the chroma key. So we get rid of the green screen, and we've got our own background kind of set up and ready that we put in, and then we quickly edit it, change all the kind of titles and stuff that we bring up, for the headlines for the stories, and we try and have as many pictures as we can relating to the stories, and if we can, so have videos. We have had some cases where we had, I think when it was the Fedra, the ship that crashed, and one of Lloyd's List reporters happened to be out there, and he got some footage on his mobile phone, so it was really handy to kind of chop that in because it was quite a big story for the week. And whenever we do have interviews, we do try and incorporate them as much as we can, just so it's a lot more interactive rather than just a still image.
So there's sort of technical things like, for instance, the background. You have a spinning globe, I think.
Yeah.
That's this a piece of software that when you do use Final Cut, that picks it up.
Yeah, well, what we did is we used another piece of software called After Effects, and we made a few backgrounds. So it's literally about a 30-second clip that restarts, and we just kind of have
it looks quite effective, we think. And we obviously looked at lots of other B2B business bulletins as well to see what they did, and some of them had very busy backgrounds with lines of light shooting everywhere, and then some people just had very boring static office backgrounds, sort of emulating the BBC and things like that. They are actually in the office, but some people do a green screen and then put an office scene behind, which it doesn't look good because it looks
because you can still almost tell it's green screened, and then there's people wandering around in the background.
We just decided to keep it simple, and it means the pictures and things like that stand out a lot more. So.
And you'll go for a still relevant to each of the stories, will you, if you possibly can?
Oh yes, definitely. Yeah. We'll definitely try our best. I mean, if they're talking about someone specifically, we'll always try and have an image of them. But some of these people are quite hard to track down, so have the kind of generic company logo.
Clearly, you have ambitions, though. What would you like to see? How would you like to develop the bulletin?
Well, I'd quite like to do. I think if we could do a longer version on maybe a Friday or a Monday or something.
An analytical piece.
Like more of a discussion and kind of
a forecast of the coming week.
Maybe get some of the other reporters involved, and but I think Mark wants to do quite a daily one, but like a shorter one, which could be quite good as well. But again, it's very time consuming to come out with like a 2-minute, 3-minute clip on a daily basis.